Hello, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are sitting in this world. I'm Krystyn Sadler, the CEO, and of course, I have to mention Culture Warrior of Mosaic. I want to say thank you for joining us on our series where we're having an opportunity to really highlight amazing female leaders and just really share their journey of how they got here. And so today I have Jayne, who is accompanying me to have this amazing conversation around her leadership journey, and how she got to where she's at, and little tips of her mentorships and her lessons learned along the way as well. So thank you, Jayne, for coming and
My
sharing your
pleasure.
story today. If you just want to get us kicked off, tell us a little bit about who you are and then jump straight into your journey.
So I have been for the last 20 years HR practice leader at Cerberus Capital, and recently have converted to a consultant in the same capacity. Funny how coming to the side didn't mean any diminution of workload, but in the 20 years, my remit has included HR due diligence, mentorship of HR leaders and CEOs, HR transformation, organizational transformation, and all the usual sort of tactical stuff of compensation and benefits and things like that. And it's been really a great journey, to use your words, because in the world of private equity, there are no two deals the same. Each industry is a new challenge. So even though it sounds like 20 years in one place doing the same thing, no 2 days have been the same.
No 2 days are the same. I feel like you also highlighted HR, right? No 2 days are the same. Like,
That is very true.
yes, I always enjoyed in my HR career. You walked in, you're like, what am I going to get to do today? I think I'm doing this, but this is realistically what happens throughout the day that you get pulled into. So, how long have you been in the world of HR?
I wandered into the world of HR by accident, actually. So when I was graduating college, I was a journalism major and I had minored in French and economics, and I was going to be an international business reporter. Unfortunately, jobs fitting that description were few and far between with someone with absolutely no experience. So I was offered a job in the Bloomingdale's training department, and I decided, well, a job in New York City is better than no job. So I took the role and didn't really want to be a buyer. And they decided in my first rotation that I should work on a special project in the training department. So I did that rotation. And then it was Christmas time. And they said, you seem reasonably articulate and fearless in front of crowds. How about you do Christmas training? A
Oh,
nightmare in and of itself. I could spend hours talking about the experience of doing Christmas training for a department store in those days. But anyway, the assignment ends. A new boss came in to run the department, and no one had thought to move me. And she looks at me and she says, well, what do you do? And I said, I'm not sure, but here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to run your employee magazine because I think you're doing it poorly. So that led to a multi-year career, pretty much making up my job as I went along. I have had the distinction of never actually having a job that anyone else had. In each one of my roles, I was breaking the ground, asking for the position, asking for the responsibilities, sometimes getting a title after the fact once someone had discovered what I was doing. So I spent 20 years-ish rising through the hierarchy of Bloomingdale's and left as a vice president, deciding if I was ever going to get out of retail, I had to just quit and move on. And did private consulting for a while. And that's actually how I ended up in my current role. I got tapped by a former employee of mine. I could say she was a mentee of mine, but I prefer the word protege, who had recently taken a role with Cerberus and said that they desperately needed someone with my skills. Would I come do a special assignment for 3 months? They had just acquired Mervyn's from Target. She said, with your retail background, your knowledge of M&A, this would be a great fit. Just come. 3 months. 3 months is all we need you for. And that was over 20 years ago. I just
and
never
that was
left.
20 years ago. I love too how you've continued just to pave the way. I'm like, okay, this needs work, and therefore this is what I'm going to do. You were very responsive to the needs that you had. That is
Yeah,
absolutely
yeah.
wonderful. I also believe heavily in like do the job that you want, right? Just go.
Exactly, exactly. I mean, for example, I taught myself computers in the days when not everyone had one on their desk, in their home, in their hand, in their pocket. So because I was facile with Excel or its precursor, Lotus 123, yes, I'm that old. Um, I got assignments that were really far out of my remit, but had one skill, one capability, and the desire to keep learning and take on whatever anyone was willing to give me.
Love that. Oh, the grit and the drive, which obviously is what has made you so successful and made you such an incredible leader. I love hearing that. So, of course, I'd love to know a little bit more about what was the biggest challenge that you have faced in your career so far.
Mm.
How do you overcome it?
So obviously, there's lots of little challenges that you encounter along the way, but I would say the biggest challenge was moving from the comfort zone of retail,
Mm,
where I knew all the lingo, I spoke the language, I knew the cadence, I knew everything about how retail operated, and going into the world of private equity. And I had done M&A. Bloomingdale's did little tuck-in um, acquisitions all the time, but I did not speak PE. I
mm,
did not know all of the acronyms, the very specific language that people use. Plus, I had gone from working in a world that was heavily female to a world that was almost entirely male. In fact, the first women's dinner that we had at Cerberus of professional women, not the assistants, we fit around one table, and not a very large one, in a local restaurant. I think there were 8 of us at the time. So it was a huge adjustment trying to find my place, fit in, create the job. No one had ever really done this job before, and different people had different expectations, but no one was telling me what I was supposed to be doing. So I was making it up as I went along, trying to learn who the influencers were, as well as the positional people of power, and how to interact in a very new environment. That was a big challenge.
And did you have any mentors that were helping you through that period? Or
That was,
any at all? I'm like,
yeah,
God,
right.
who's in on that period? Because I'm like, wow, that would be very difficult. And I went from healthcare into more of the legal firm, which then was a professional services organization, which led in well from a model standpoint of what work we do at Mosaic. But that transition from healthcare to legal was a jump. But of course, I had an incredible mentor that helped me along that way. But I've of course just want to. It doesn't have to be that moment, but in your career, does a mentor stand out to you that's helped you along your journey?
I had a couple mentors who didn't know they were mentors. They were more like shining lights or great examples. I worked for one woman who didn't even have a college degree. She had worked her way up from being a secretary. That was her title. That was before
Mm,
it was a professionalized job. And she was a vice president of HR back when it was personnel at
mm.
Bloomingdale's. And she taught me so much about organizational dynamics and how to be successful. For example, she never went to a meeting with an idea that she didn't know the outcome of proposing that idea. She was like a Nancy Pelosi. She did all the homework, lobbied everyone so that when she went to a board meeting, she knew the outcome of
Mm.
what she was presenting. And that lesson stayed with me, and I used a lot of that in that transition from retail to private equity to say, okay, I need to pre-wire things. I can't just go in cold and hope I'm saying the right thing. I need to find this influencer or this person who might be candid with me, and pre-wire it with them, see how it flies, alter it if I need to. And that was so important in helping me make that transition.
Love that. And I know you have also mentored others. You have been a person who others have gravitated towards, and you've helped lift others up. Anybody that stands out in your mind that you're just so proud of their journey?
Actually, the woman who brought me into Cerberus. So our history goes back to her graduation from college, I needed a junior resource, and was looking to find someone from, I won't say the rejects, but the not ideal fit for buyer training program, but we like them anyway.
Yeah.
College graduates from the recruiting tour. So I reached out to one of the people on the college placement group and said, did anyone stand out to you? She said, oh yeah, there's this one woman. She was terrific. Told me the university that she went to. So I go looking through the resumes and I pick the one that I think this has to be the one. I call her, I interview her, love her, bring her in. Her first day on the job, I'm walking her around, introducing her to people, and I say, Anne, this is the person that you recommended for the job. And she looks at me and she kind of shifty eyes back and forth, and she takes me aside. She says, that wasn't the one. Anyway, she turned out to be a terrific hire, a great sponge, enjoyed everything she was doing, dug in, worked hard. I guided her to leave HR for a while, take an operational role. So she had a business background. She left and went on to get a degree in HR, an MBA, went on to big programs at GE. And we, of course, stayed in touch. She brought me in for speaking engagements. And so she then repaid the favor by bringing me into my role at Cerberus. She then moved on into a leadership role at one of the portfolio companies, then another portfolio company, left, went to a public company, became the named executive officer. So proud of her. And when she left that role, I've brought her back into the fold. She's on 2 boards of portfolio companies for Cerberus. As a former HR person, I think that's a great accomplishment. So she's sort of my star of people I feel I've mentored, but there are many others that I'm pretty proud of their career journeys.
Yeah, what I love and heard in that story is, even if this wasn't the resume that somebody else saw because they were trying to fit into like this education background, this and this and this, what you saw was something more around the character, and again, the drive, and probably the ability to be open-minded versus closed-minded. And I'm here to learn. I'm here to put in the work. And that's incredible. And that's what I love is yes, I believe education's important. At the same time, putting in the work and having that character of being driven and gritty is just as important. Yes.
And
yes.
curious.
And curious. That's a great example.
Being open-minded to new ideas, willingness to learn new things, whether it's within your trajectory or career path or not, because you just never know when that piece of knowledge becomes useful somewhere else.
Yes. Yes. And I'm sure there was a level of confidence. And this is something that I find, especially with talking to other female leaders, is I've heard the expression, well, I faked it until I made it. Right.
100%.
Never done that before. Just kidding. But then there's this aspect where like the confidence continues to build, but she probably had so much confidence instilled in her by you, right? To be able to have the confidence to go on and continue to know what was successful, what she needed to work on, what she was able to continue to try for. But what an incredible story. I appreciate you sharing. I love that. All right. Well, go ahead.
I would just say confidence is one of those things that if I were to give bits of advice to young women, the lead with confidence, whether it's fake it till you make it or just say it with authority, but also just present yourself with authority. My biggest pet peeve about young women in business is when introducing themselves, suddenly they forget they have 2 names and they forget they have a hand that can give a firm handshake. A whole line of men will say, I'm Sam Jones, I'm John Smith, and stick out their hand. And then you get to the woman who's every bit as powerful as they are and every bit as smart. And she says, hi, I'm Jayne, and gives a little wimpy hand.
Understood. The presence, right? Talking about the presence that you bring into that conversation, into that meeting, kind of sets the tone and the stage with, I know what I'm talking about. I'm here to be just as much of a part of the conversation and bring my ideas, which is what I love about just overarching diverse thought, right? Being able to bring different perspectives into a meeting, having the right level of conflict is a positive thing, right, in a business. But it all starts with that having presence. I love that. Of course, I'm going to ask any other advice that you would give to a woman striving to gain more in her role as a leader?
A lot, a lot. First of all, listen. um,
Mhm.
Listen, I'll kind of pull on the know when to hold them, know when to fold them. It's it, it's important to listen. It's also important to speak up, but it's important to know when to do each one. And I think too often women are painted with the she's too brass and strident if they speak up too much, and if they don't speak up enough, oh, she's too weak, too meek, to be successful. So striking that delicate balance and figuring out what it is, figuring out when you have something valid to say and not just piling on for the sake of making sure that somebody heard your voice. um, Paying rapt attention, putting down your phone, looking people in the eye. Uh, it, it matters. And I think it's a way to break through some barriers. Of course, it doesn't hurt if you learn a little about sports so you have something to talk about in the downtime. But it, really listening to what people are saying, listening to what's going on around you, and having a valid opinion and not being afraid to speak it, I think is probably the most important key.
Love that. I'm hearing listen, be present,
Hmm.
um, bring presence,
Bring
and
presence, be confident. Yes,
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 and also be confident in bringing, not talking just to talk, but bringing points that are valid
that's right.
into the conversation, and
Yeah,
don't be afraid to do that.
right.
Love that. Love that. Well, I appreciate your time today. I appreciate you sharing your journey. I appreciate you sharing advice. I know that you share the same passion of, again, lifting others up into more leadership positions. And so sometimes it's just sprinkling in that confidence to know, go for it, go do the job that you want, right? And don't wait for it to be given to you. And so just appreciate you sharing again your journey to others. I appreciate you also being a client. So thank you.
That too.
Love it. Right. Love it. And of course, because you said sports, I feel like I got an open window. Go Mocs. We won at the Invitational last night. So yes, first time ever calling us champions in men's basketball, hence my C for today. Very proud. Love that. Well, thank you again, Jayne, for your time today. Very much appreciated. For all of you, wait until next time as well. We've got more fabulous leaders that are coming to the table to share their journey and to share more to you around women in leadership. So thank you. Happy Friday to anybody. If you're watching the recording, happy whatever day it is. And we appreciate you coming and listening today. So thank you.